Gambit seems a bit more friendly with us now. He seems to know a lot about what's going on here, but isn't telling us very much, though. I'm not sure I can blame him. I would be a bit cautious about who I trusted right now, too. But he is sending us off on a mission with his externals, so that means we must have some degree of his trust.
Looks like one more earthquake will drop Chinatown right into the ocean. The whole world was falling apart even before the rally attack. I wonder how much the purifiers had to do with helping that along.
I don't mean to be rude here, Adrian, but yeah, crazy, genocidal, religious cults usually make things a lot worse. We get a startling number of places in this game simply by smashing through the floor. I know you've only seen it maybe twice at this point, but it is our main method of transportation, believe me.
Hey kid, Gambit wants some samples of anything we find here. We'll bring the truck in through there. You'll have to go around to get the door open.
Now, Gambit is a businessman as much as he is a thief, so wanting samples, that could be a bit of a red flag, but it's not like we're in any position to argue with him right now. Right here you'll get to see that dodge tackle we equipped, which sends enemies flying into the air and instantly activates the physics engine. Like I said before, it is the third move we've had with this function, but it's a lot faster to activate than our ground pound or our edge storm. So if you recall a while ago, we saw Iceman heading over this direction somewhere, and there's an optional mission with Iceman right over here.
You have a minute? I could use your help again.
For some reason, unlike pretty much every other optional mission, this one does not give us an X-Gene. You can see that the Gambit offensive ground pound knocks enemies into the air, so even if we won't ever get to see our enemies explode, it's still useful. It may not surprise you if I say that this challenge has nothing spectacular about it. Really, the only reason I like this challenge is because it's a neat continuity nod. Normally, optional challenges just kind of pop up, but this time you got a hint that this one was coming. And you probably wouldn't even realize it was a hint until you saw it the second time. There is attention to detail in this game that would suggest they definitely wanted to make a good game and they just weren't able to. You might feel at this point like the game is hurting for some new enemy types, and we'll get some eventually. I wouldn't hold this particular challenge against the game because it is optional, but that doesn't excuse the rest. But you know, since we're just here twiddling our thumbs, let's spend some time talking about the story again. We still have no idea why the Purifiers are capturing the mutants. Gambit said there were stolen goods in the box he received. Stolen souls. Now that could mean a lot of things because it's intentionally vague. We heard Commander Hodge call the little girl and the other mutants merchandise. But the stolen souls Gambit was referring to, clearly not the mutants, because a mutant was not in that box. It could be the case that the package and the kidnapped mutants are completely unrelated. Maybe the package has something to do with how they're getting their funding. It's gotta be pretty obnoxious for Adrian, as someone who was originally a purifier, to have no idea what was in the box. He seems to have been left out entirely of this exclusive plan to kidnap mutants thing. You might figure this is because the Purifiers are unorganized and there are some on the fringe that just aren't in contact with the main group or something.
Great work, kid. Thanks for helping me ice these guys.
We got our first suit, which is good, because Adrian was dressed like a purifier before, and that was bad. We still don't have enough to get our final combo, but we're almost there. So close. The thing about suits is that they're just entirely cosmetic unless you have all the genes for that mutant. So Avalanche's suit is useless to us unless we have all of Avalanche's genes equipped also. And the probability of finding all of a single mutant's genes and their suit in one playthrough is pretty tiny. Now, as I was saying, you might think that the reason Adrian wasn't clued in on this kidnapping mutants business is because Adrian was just on the fringe. The opening said that there were purifier cults all over the place, so maybe they're not just one big collected group. And you could think that, but it's probably wrong. Excuse that edit, I was distracted for a moment. Now, as I was saying, it's probably wrong to assume that because even though the intro mentions it briefly, we never really see evidence of that in the game itself. The further you get into the game, the more the purifiers seem collected and organized, and the more unlikely it seems that Adrian wouldn't know about them kidnapping mutants. And this isn't leading to some kind of moral twist or anything like that. They just needed Adrian to seem more like a good guy, so he didn't know that they were kidnapping mutants. There's really no other reason for that. And it's kind of immensely disappointing because that would have made his character more interesting if he was okay with them kidnapping mutants until he became one. But I feel like the writers had a hard time writing somebody in this scenario. That defensive X gene we just equipped from Avalanche is going to help us quite a bit, thanks to that extra health bar. Notably, the enemies right here just stand perfectly still until you jump overhead. Game's not very polished. I'm not gonna lie, these screams of terror are absolutely hilarious, though.
You can't be here!
I don't know about you, but I don't think that crate over there says Purifier on it, or has a Purifier symbol. I think it says U-men on it. So if you thought the Purifiers were a super creepy religious cult, well, there's the U-men. They believe in a third species of humans called Homo Perfectus. They believe the only real way to perfection is for normal humans to take mutant organs and powers and graft them onto themselves so that the U-men can then obtain powers of their choice. So yeah, it's pretty fucked up. But seeing that crate in here, we really don't have to wonder what the Purifiers were stealing anymore, I think. They were stealing mutants and helping the U-men harvest their organs and powers so that they could... I don't know what the Purifiers would want with mutant powers.
Figure out how to get that hoist working. Find the juice to get this thing going. Don't let that truck out of here!
We have to protect the truck from enemy fire, but that's not very hard because all of the enemies come out of this single garage door. So, we can assume the Purifiers were helping the U-men for some reason, but we don't know what the Purifiers would have to gain from this exactly. I mean, surely the Purifiers wouldn't be using mutant powers for themselves. Surely not.
Well now, I think we can keep these vermin busy while the truck is loaded.
That was definitely the more useful of the two powers, but that's not saying much. Now this boss fight, if you want to call it that, is pretty tough. The two Purifier Cleansers, those guys with the flamethrowers, you only want to hit them from behind, because their flamethrowers deal so much damage. The problem is that there's two of them, which means that their blind spot is very tiny. And even when you do get behind one of them, they switch quickly to aim at you again. The best thing I feel to do is run around on the outside as far away from them as humanly possible, and only attack when you're absolutely 100% sure you won't get hit. It's kind of funny that this fight is actually a lot tougher than most of the real boss fights, simply because two Purifier Cleansers together cover such a huge area. So if you're curious about how the U-men take these powers, it's not like some G-rated, kid-friendly, oh, we sapped your strength. It's, they go after them with razors and guns, and tear their flesh apart, and it's really gruesome. So, yeah, mutants are dying en masse. They're not going to a pretty place after they get kidnapped. They kind of glaze over how disturbing this is in this game, but I helped you with that. I helped you realize how disturbing it was. You're welcome.
You were right.
As I thought. Not just friendly neighborhood thieves over there.
Were there any other clues in the package that can help us figure out their plan?
Schematics to a compound that isn't on any map, and that none of my people have been able to locate. It's so well shielded you could be forgiven for thinking it doesn't even exist.
Yeah, they had more of those little glass bottles, and machine parts. I closed their shop. Probably not for long.
C'est bien. You bought us some time. That's always worth having.
What are those things?
I believe evidence of a crime. A theft, in fact. One I would never have attempted.
Are you gonna make me guess?
No, but I need to be sure before I speak. If I'm right, the Purifiers are not our only enemy.
So, do you think it was mutants that attacked the rally?
No. It was clearly a setup to frame mutants and panic the world. The real question is how they did it. And that vial, my friend, is our first clue.
Well, did you find out the location?
Seems they've been using an old BART tunnel.
Well then, that's my way in.
Watch yourself down there. You'll find moles and rats in those tunnels. One last thing. I got me a sense about you. Now, I understand the attraction to the darker side, but take my advice. Try not to lose sight of yourself. Yeah, we're mutants, but that doesn't mean that's all we are, Dakota.
I'm not surprised the Purifiers were hunting mutants, but why bother capturing them? And what's in those vials? I've got a feeling I won't like the answer.